Welcome to For the Record. I'm Will Keneally. It's been a busy week for us here in Wisconsin, with both the president and vice president making separate trips to both corners of the state, and a major address back here in Madison by Governor Tony Evers. Now, I'll get to all that later in the show, but we'll start this week with that vice presidential visit on Monday. It came as the 51st anniversary of Roe v. Wade, when that decision was handed down by the U.S. Supreme Court. And I want to share with you a little bit from that speech.
After Roe was dismantled, extremists evoked a law from 1849 to stop abortion in this state. 1849, before women could vote, before women could hold elected office, before many women could even own property, in a state whose motto is forward. These extremists are trying to take us backward. Well, we're not having that.
Now, at the same time, back in Madison, that coincided with a committee hearing on a bill that would change abortion restrictions in Wisconsin. Now, later that week, after 3 consecutive session days for the state assembly, it finally passed. And joining us now for more on where this stands is Erin McGroarty, a state government reporter with the Cap Times, who's hopefully a little bit more caffeinated than earlier in the week. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to start with this hearing first and foremost. What do the bill authors have to say about kind of why they're introducing this bill and why now?
Yeah, essentially what Representative Niedleski said. She's a Republican out of Pleasant Prairie. She said she's tired of campaigning on this issue. She's tired of arguing with her colleagues across the aisle on it. She wants to put it to a vote of the people and kind of have the issue done with. What we heard also throughout the hearing and throughout the session on Thursday is the will of the people. That's a phrase that was used a lot. And I think that this is maybe a way of Republicans trying to achieve the outcome that they want, but being able to really lean back on the fact that this is what they think the people of Wisconsin want.
So the fascinating thing for me is, I'm sure a lot of people at home might think of, the slow movement of government. This was not a slow process, though, this week, right?
No, not at all. A lot of things, as I'm sure you know, in the legislature move at a glacial pace. So this seemed pretty close to warp speed. It was introduced last week. We had a hearing on it Monday. We had an executive session on Tuesday, and then it was on the floor on Thursday, which is incredibly fast for a bill to move. I think that this is a big priority for the Republicans that proposed it. What we also have to keep in mind is that there's been ongoing litigation about abortion access since the days right after Roe was overturned in the summer of 2022. So I think that a lot of the bill co-sponsors here maybe want to achieve legislation before that case, which is anticipated to move up to the Supreme Court, works its way up there. We know that after the last election, that court has a liberal majority, so I think that some of the bill sponsors might be a little concerned about the outcome that they might see if that case makes it there.
Certainly makes sense to, work its way through quickly. Were there any changes that we saw along the way between Monday and Thursday?
Yes, we saw one amendment that was added to the bill on Tuesday during the executive session that would add exemptions in the case of rape or incest, which was not in the original bill.
As you were mentioning before, this kind of takes us all kind of out of the process of the legislature, would put it to final vote of the people. What would that look like?
So this is a little used legislative mechanism. Essentially, if the bill passes the Assembly and the Senate and gets the signature of the governor, which we know is not likely, then it would put a ballot initiative or a ballot referendum on the next ballot in the upcoming election.
And so we heard the governor have his State of the State address this week too, touching on this bill as well. What do we know that he will do with it so far?
He's going to veto it. This is a big point of contention between Democrats and Republicans in the legislature and has been for a long time. A big talking point from the governor throughout his time in office is that he's going to veto anything that he sees as a threat to the reproductive freedom of women in Wisconsin. He talked about it before, he mentioned it directly in his State of the State, and he responded on Thursday to the passing of the bill and is vowed to veto it. So the likelihood of that referendum ending up on the ballot is slim to none, but I think that also what Republicans are hoping to achieve maybe is this is an election year, and so by bringing forward this legislation, voting on it, they're able to show their voting base, hey, if this is an issue that you care about, I care about it too. Even though I'm up against a Democratic governor, I'm trying to achieve something that you want.
So we'll certainly see this play out throughout the rest of the election year.
Absolutely.
Erin McGroarty, thanks so much for
joining us.
Thanks for having me. And when we come back, the governor delivered his annual State of the State address this week. UW-Madison professor Mike Wagner breaks down what you need to know from it, plus his major takeaways from President Biden's trip to Superior. We'll be right back after this.